Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Welcome to The Offering with me, your host, Jerry Horror. This week we decided to have a guest and probably try to capitalize on something that's rather salacious and a bit controversial right now. It's everything going on behind the scenes with the film Terrifier, the entire series, the creators. This is a story about equity. It's a story about friendship. But most importantly, it's a story about Steve Barton. Steve Barton, you might know, was the creator of Dread Central. He's shepherded so many different projects over the years. He has a new book out, which I think you'll find thoroughly entertaining, and he's got some news on that book. But aside from that, I was able to sit down with the man and just have a conversation, really get down to the brass tacks of everything that's been going on with this Terrifier controversy. But that's not what this episode is about. See, this episode is about two things. The first thing, it's about passion. The second thing, it's about work ethic. And I learned that Steve Barton can't fake either one of those things. So today, I hope that you really enjoy this episode and listen to what the man has to say. This is an episode that is not about controversy or cashing in on a news story. This is an episode about learning and how we learn from our mistakes. And sometimes the spoils of victory can be bittersweet. Usually when we have directors on and things of that nature, we have actors on, I ask them a very perfunctory question. But I feel that it's applicable to you too, because you've done so much, and we'll get into that. Obviously today, my guest is Uncle Creepy, aka Steve Barton. Steve, when you were a kid, obviously we're genre guys. You got Uncle Creepy, you got Uncle Jerry. We promised you King Kong versus Godzilla, but you just got two uncles in the room.
Scary for them.
Yeah, scary for the kids. We'll give you life lessons. Like, I go to the gym now. I yell at all the kids at the gym. So what I was going to ask you was, when you were growing up, and obviously we're genre guys. What was the movie that you said to yourself, I think I can do this, or I want to do this. I want to be a part of this?
In my book, it actually starts right there. When I was like, I'll give you the short answer. When I was like 3 years old, my parents were always night owls, right?
Yeah.
So I would wait till I heard them snoring, and that's when I knew it was safe for me to go into the living room to fucking watch the cool shit, because it wasn't lost on me that the cool shit was on in the middle of the night on like channel 11 or channel fucking 9 or whatever the fuck it was. And we had this giant black and white console TV, like the kind of TV that if it breaks, you just say fuck it, put another TV on top, and it's furniture now, right?
Yep.
And in the middle of the night, I walked into the living room and I sat down and I turned on the TV, and I was expecting to see some lunacy, but instead I saw what I thought was real lunacy. There was a newscast on telling people that they had to get to rescue stations because the unburied dead were returning to life. And I'm 3 years old, right? So I'm watching that shit, and I thought it was real. So I ran into my parents' room. I fucking woke them up. They were all sorts of pissed at me, man. They were telling me I was having a nightmare, and I'm like, no, we got to get to rescue stations, man. And I took him in the living room and I pointed at the TV and I said, look. And of course, what was on was Night of the Living Dead. And I got my first spanking that night, right? And I remember laying in bed, my fucking ass throbbing. And I said to myself, wow, I was absolutely terrified, but I was totally safe at the same time.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is fucking cool. I want more of that. And it was ever since that moment. That was the night I always say Uncle Creepy was born, you know?
Absolutely.
And Creepy magazine was a big part of my formative years when I was a little child. And Uncle Creepy was like their crypt keeper. So that's when
Yeah.
at the dawn of the internet, everyone had to have a cool screen name. So I picked mine as an homage to Uncle Creepy and Creepy magazine. And had I have known the connotations that would come with it about 30 years later, I might have been a little bit more selective. But the name has brought me nothing but good things, and it's just a part of who I am. This genre is a part of who I am. You can't fake this shit. It's in us.
Absolutely.
You know, it's something that we take seriously. It's part of our biology. And when you go to a horror convention, or even if you're online in a supermarket and somebody walks in wearing an Evil Dead shirt and you see it, and they look at you and you look at them and you give each other the nod, like you're one of the gang. You know what I mean? It's like there's something so communal about the horror genre, and I guess maybe it's because we're the misfits, or so we're told we're the misfits, or some shit like that. But
Yeah.
I never bought into that, dude. In my estimation, we're the normal ones, and everyone else is the ones who are fucked in the head.
We're preparing ourselves.
Yeah.
I think there is always they say the day your childhood ends is the day that you discover you can die. The fear of mortality. And I think with horror fans, it's probably a fascination with that morbid side of things. And maybe in a lot of ways, even as children, we're working through that on some level.
Absolutely.
Now, I would listen. I know straight away. I don't care. People have a way of doing things, but I'm bringing it up right now. I bought the book, okay, and I'm not going to lie to you. I read a couple of chapters. It is a comedy.
I bet you I know which one is. I bet you I know which chapters you read.
Just the first four. Just the first four. It is a comedy of tragedies, an American memoir for the completely dysfunctional.
Yes.
And now, look, I know it's like, oh, we get to plug it. Let's plug it right from the beginning. So what in the hell were you thinking? You say, I'm going to write a book.
I wasn't thinking. I never ever thought I was going to write a book. What I was doing was I was doing the psychological thing, man. They always say if you have these demons rattling around in your head, the healthiest way you can get rid of them is to just write them down or type them out, I guess. And so what I was doing for the first couple of years that I started writing it is I was just getting these things that I've had inside of me out, and I moved back to the East Coast because I missed pizza.
Absolutely. I miss it right now.
Yes, I'm telling you. And met this wonderful woman whom I married, and that still blows my mind that she willingly shares her life with me. It's bizarre. She may want to reevaluate her life choices. Even Kane Hodder told her that, but hey, whatever.
Well, she's in a polyamorous relationship with you and pizza.
Yeah, apparently.
So,
yes.
Let's be,
that's very accurate. And one day I was sitting here working, and she was like, "Hey, that thing you were writing, can I read it?" I'm like, "Well, what the fuck for? You already married me. You know this stuff, right?" And she said, "Well, I'm just curious." So I gave her the link to the Word doc. It was about half, I think it was like right in the middle when I stopped. Like I stopped right in the middle. And I gave it to her, and she went away, and every once in a while I'd hear her like intermittently laughing or crying or whatever. And I'm like, fuck, what did I do? And she comes downstairs, and I look at her hands, and there's no divorce paperwork. So win. And she sits down next to me, and she's like, "You can't burn this or delete this or whatever it is you're doing." And I'm like, "Well, why?" She goes, "Because," and she said, I'll never forget, she said, "I've heard people talk about the kind of stuff you talk about, and I have never heard anyone talk about it quite like you do." And she's like, if you put this out there, this has a chance of reaching people and helping them and making them feel less like a misfit, or at least less alone. And I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, I never really considered that. But then I also had a glaring problem. Being that I was writing it for me, I was being very explicit with shit. And I was being explicit to get it out, like every
Yeah.
detail, right? And had I have known I was doing it for public consumption, I may have held back a little bit, you know? And so when I decided to finish it and put it out as a book, I was like, well, what do I do? Do I go back and edit it? And I'm like, that's far too fucking much work. So I just let it bleed, and I didn't take out a single thing. But what I did do is I added to it to make it read like a book, you know, and I just threw caution to the wind and put it out, man. And it was a magical moment. You know, I this guy, Josh Milliken, who took over from me when I left Dread Central, or one of the people that took over, he saw that I said I wrote a book. He's like, hey, man, can I read this? I'm like, sure. So I sent it to him, and I was going to self-publish it. You know, that's, I don't know. And he read it. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? Wait, let me talk to my publisher, because he's a writer.
Yeah.
And so he hooked me up with Encyclopocalypse, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And they wanted to put it out just because I wrote it. But I'm like, nah, dude, you gotta read it and then see what it is. Because yes, there's a lot of industry stories in it, right? And that stuff is 100% in there. But on the other side of it, it's my life, you know? So I didn't think anyone would be able to appreciate the stories and where I'm at now unless they read about where I came from and what it took to get here, you know? And that was that, man. It came out to very high reviews from people I respect, and I'm very happy about that, and I'm very touched. And you know, one of the best things that's ever happened to me is just it was a couple of months ago at Monster Mania. I wasn't appearing or anything, but I was just walking around checking out the dealer's room because I love that shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like what could I spend with little money I don't have now, you know? And this guy came up to me, he's like, I know you. And I'm like, I'm a bald guy with a beard. There's 8 of me right here. There's 2 in
Yeah.
this room. And he's like, no, what's your name? And I'm like, it's Steve Barton. And he just kind of welled up a little. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, I just read your book. And as I was dealing with my own father dying, that was the chapter I was reading in your book. And he was like, you can't imagine how much that helped me. And I was really touched by that, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
that makes everything worth it, you know? So it's out there. And yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a scoop. The audiobook version is coming out very soon. It features appearances from Adam Green, Joe Lynch, and music from To Die For and Power Man 5000. So it's a really cool thing, and it's and no one knows who the bands involved are or who's going to be on it. I don't read it, I don't narrate it, and I know a lot of people are expecting me to, but you got to understand, when I wrote that, it was to get this shit out, to
Yeah, you
close
don't
the
you don't want to
wall.
relive it. You don't
Yeah,
want
I
to
don't want to. I just
relitigate
don't
it.
want to walk through them again, you know. So I got this guy Tom Jordan, who has an amazing voice, and he gives a hell of a performance as me. And we'll see what happens, man. You know, hopefully it'll reach a wider audience, and more people will realize that it's okay to be fucked up and it's okay to feel alone. But you're really not, man. We're all going through it, and nobody's baggage is any heavier than anyone else's. You know, it's all subjective. So I always wanted people to just be happy and survive and live, because I think the world is a better place with everyone in it. You
Yeah.
know, everyone is special. So, I mean, that's my hopes. I've already, that one guy validated everything for me. I don't care if another person reads the book. You know, I that guy found the help he needed at that moment, and I am so honored and humbled to have been able to help him through whatever he was going through.
Well, listen, I mean, I've only read the first couple of chapters. and there is a very conversational nature to the book. Even just speaking to you now, it's they always used to say, like, Jay-Z had a very conversational flow. He sounds like he's talking to you. He's not rapping, he's talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally enjoy a book where it is very much in the author's voice. I'm a biography guy. I like true books. That's why I do this podcast. I like stories,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still in the Brooklyn days of of the book, so no spoilers. But no, it's fun. It's one of these things. We talk about the loss of a parent, and recently there's a group thread with me, Pete, and our friend Sean, and we're talking about the Black Phone 2. Did you see the Black Phone 2?
Loved it.
The whole angle, spoiler alert, kids, the whole angle with the mother, it broke me. I started crying in the theater, and I was just like, fuck, this is really. And I think it's one of those things that until you breach that, I mean, there's things in life that we don't want to deal with. One of them, obviously, is the death of a parent, and it's terrible. The way that I process it, my mother died, and she died relatively young, in her 60s. And the reality of it was, she loved my father. She died in the same bed. She went to sleep and she died. And now, as I am older, and I'm a decade removed from it, I'm like, it's not a bad way to go, man. Like, that's kind of because it's the same thing with you. Like, you didn't think you would make it this far. I didn't think I would make it this far. I don't know how how I made it this far, but you survive. We survive these things, and I think that is probably why the book is resonating with people.
You know, I've my story isn't unique in that everybody spends a good portion of their life getting knocked down, some more than others. And I've been knocked down more than my fair share, and that's okay because I kind of learned to embrace that. I've learned to embrace the bad times because, in a weird way, being that I was in that spot so many times, it was familiar to me. I was no longer scared of losing because I was already there countless times before. But I began to understand that when these bad things happen, when something happens that breaks you, it's the decisions you make in those moments and the choices that are going to resonate for you, that are going to dictate the character. You're going to dictate your character and the person you'll become. So to me, when you're at a point where there's nothing left to lose, it's exciting because now you can make some decisions. Now you could change shit up. Now you could try something else. So every time I found myself on my ass, I would just sit back up, look at the walls, and be like, all right, what the fuck do I have to do now to climb out of this one? And it's just what I did, man. And I don't, when you read the book, I talk about a lot of really personal, nightmarish shit, but I don't whine about it. I just say what happened. This is what happened. This is what I had to do to get over it. And I move on to the next thing, And I hope people get that, that it is okay to be fucked up and to fail. I don't believe in mistakes. The only time a mistake is an actual mistake is when you don't learn from it. Every bit of adversity that you come across in your life gives you the opportunity to turn it into something good. You just have to want to do it, and you have to believe in yourself, even if no one else does.
Absolutely. Listen, I mean, you think about, I used to think to myself, obviously, why is Rocky Balboa so powerful? He takes a beating. Not only is he a nobody, but he takes a beating. And then you start really thinking about it, and you're like, let's go back to the Bible. Jesus takes a beating. He gets his ass whooped pretty well. And I think what it is that we are created as our character, who we are, by the suffering. The suffering shapes us. And it either you say, hey, and we are in November, it's Men's Mental Health Month. It's something I try to illuminate every year. we're destroying ourselves. And the thing is that, you need to take this pain, no matter what it is, whatever this, we talk a lot about trauma. And whatever you do, you have to rebound from it because, it's hard to tell the kid, maybe the kid is 15 and he's got suicidal thoughts. And it's hard to tell that kid right there and say, hey, it's going to get better. And I promise you, you gotta get out of the deep end right now. And when you're that 15-year-old kid, there's no way out. This is it. It's, but you're proof of this. I mean, you did it. You've done good for yourself. You've survived.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle. It's not lost on me that I should probably be either a drug addict, an alcoholic, or locked up in jail somewhere. And
me and you both.
I very easily could have gone that way, but instead I chose to do something different. And my whole life, everyone told me I was never going to be nothing. I was written off before I was even fucking given a chance to stand up, and that's fine too, because all of that made me stronger. All of it's hurt like a motherfucker, but it made me a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And it could make anyone a tough son of a bitch. And what's funny is the people with the best senses of humor have been through the most agony. I've always found that to be true.
Oh yeah, look at Robin Williams.
Yeah, man, it's a really amazing thing, the human mind. But the one thing I've learned is, and this is like the most important thing I've ever learned, and I so stress this in the book, it's you have zero control over what's going on around you. You can't control what somebody says, what somebody does, when something happens. You have no control over that, but you have absolute control over how you react to it. You're the one that's going to decide for yourself how upset you get, whether you get mad, whether you get angry, whether you just say, okay, fuck it, that happened. Let me learn from it. We have that power in ourselves to know that we can handle this. And it's just a matter of drawing that line and realizing I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to move forward. And it's not easy. And nothing in life that's worth having is easy to get. And to be honest with you, Jerry, I've never seen a shortcut that's worth taking. You've got to do it the hard way. And you can do any, dude, if a fucking dickhead like me can be successful. I'm a street kid with a GED education. I've never been formally trained on anything. I taught myself how to write. I taught myself how to do HTML. I taught myself how to make a website. I taught myself how to be a journalist, how to be a writer, how to be a screenwriter, how to be a producer. And I did that because everyone told me I couldn't. So I took all of that negativity and channeled it, and I let it fuel me. I have it on my arm. I have a tattoo that reads, I gather speed from you fucking with me. It's a Pearl Jam lyric. And it means so much to me because it reminds me that no matter how bad it gets, just let it fuel you. I call it ball fuel. I have gallons of it. Okay. I can fucking sell it. I have so much of it.
Yeah.
But it's a very important thing, man. You can do anything you want as long as you put your mind to it and you really want it. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You have a chance at any point to make anything that you want happen for yourself. But ultimately, you're the one that has to do it.
Listen,
and that's what the book is about, really.
I always tell these kids, especially when I'm down in the psychiatric unit, they'll make excuses, they'll yell, they'll cry, but I tell them the same thing every kid. I say, it's on you.
Yeah.
And they say, what do you mean? I'm like, it's always on you.
Mm-hmm.
You decide what the outcome is going to be, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that's important. People need that because I think what's happened now is in the age of social media, what we see is not the truth. It is a fiction that you and I could never even fathom that is being propagated, created for social media.
Yeah.
You know, we're living in a much different era now. And I think what's happened is a lot of people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And we talk about transparency, but there's a lack of transparency because
Absolutely.
I think we saw so much stuff like with the Me Too movement and people speaking up and speaking out and being advocates for people. And I think not to just jump into the Terrifier thing, but the reality of it was we all talk about this. We got all these female horror journalists and rah, 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 and all this and that. Everybody got real fucking quiet, Steve. Why did everybody get? Is it because they're just protecting their best interests? Is that at the end of the day, that's what we're doing?
It depends on the situation. If you're talking about Terrifier specifically, um, listen, I found that movie. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was doing Dread Central, which I created. That's how much of a fucking misfit I was, dude.
And
I
thank
had,
you. I was there from the beginning. I remember it was one of the first things that had.
dude,
So thank you.
you're welcome. I had to create things to feel like I belonged somewhere, you know? And as with any .com, the bottom falls out of the industry every few years. And that happened to us, and we were faced with a choice. It was either, you know, pick up our ball, close up, and go home, or get a parent company. And we never had a parent company. Dread Central under me was always independently operated and owned. We answered to no one but ourselves. And that's where the site made its bones, because my vision for it was to give the indie filmmaker as much of a voice as the studio filmmaker and level that playing field. Because you hear so many people saying, oh, you never know where the next Romero's coming from, the next Carpenter, the next whomever. Bullshit. They're coming from the indie scene. That's where they always come from. And that's why it's important to give those filmmakers, these young cats coming up, a chance, you know? So after we tried a bunch of different things, nothing was working. We were just about to close up, and Epic Pictures Group came and they were like, hey, we'd like to acquire you guys. We don't want to change your voice. We want you to keep doing what you're doing, but we want to spin off Dread Central into a video label. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound horrendous. It almost sounds like maybe the next step for us was to be a distributor.
Yeah,
And I
evolve or
could get
die.
that. And it would also allow me to keep in touch with the younger filmmakers and help them in a new way that I didn't have access to before. So that's why I said, okay. And, it was my job to pick the first Dread Central Presents movie, as it should have been. And they gave me hundreds of fucking movies to look through. And the only one of the ones that they gave me that I picked was the Kane Hodder documentary, because I thought it was tremendous
Oh
to help.
yeah.
So I picked that. But fuck, dude, the rest of it was so bad. It's like, just because you give somebody sauce, cheese, and dough doesn't mean they can make you a pizza, you know? So I was just like at the end of my rope. And then one day I got an email from Damien Leone. He's like, hey man, I had this little movie. I saw you were quoted on the box for Rob Zombie's 31. If I send you this movie, do you think you can give us a quote? We're having a bitch of a time getting distribution. We don't know what to do. And I was like, well, yeah, man. And if anything, it was going to be a respite from going through the mound of shit Epic
Yeah.
said. So I turned on Terrifier and I immediately knew what it was, you know? And then it ended and I watched it again. And I went, okay, this is it. So I called Damien back and I'm like, dude, you haven't gotten distro for this? And he's like, well, we've gotten distro overseas, but not in the States. Everybody wants to either edit it or change this or change that. And I was like, well, don't do a fucking thing. And I hung up with him and I called Epic. I'm like, I found the movie. This is the movie. It needs to be what we debut with, right? And it took convincing, because they didn't want to take it because worldwide rights weren't available, and that's what they wanted. But I was like, no, you don't understand. This is it. This is it. So after that, they took my word for it. Was my label technically, and they acquired the film for North American distribution. And a week later, something interesting happened. They hated it. They fucking hated it. I was told things along the lines of, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. It's a piece of shit. This is the worst acquisition we've ever made. We really don't know whether you know what you're talking about here. And they hired someone else to start picking the movies. And I was like, okay, but they already had it. So it came time to start figuring out what to do with it. And they made both my life and Damien's life absolute hell, you know? And one day, during one of our many masturbatory meetings where everybody shares all these good ideas and then implements none of them, making it a colossal waste of my fucking time, I just had enough. I said, you know what? I stood up, I go, put this movie out. If it doesn't perform like I think it's going to perform, you could have my part of the company. I will walk away. And, at that point, it was clear to me that they weren't happy with me. And I don't want to work with someone who don't want to be with me. You know what I mean? So they wanted a yes guy, and I'm a lot of things. A yes guy, I can promise you, was not one of them. And they took me up on my offer. They said, okay, fine. This is the easiest way to get rid of him, I suppose, right? And it's fucking true. I did this in front of a room full of fucking people, so no one can dispute it. And I put my whole career on the line for that little movie. 18 years, 17 years, whatever it was at that point. It was everything I had. I just said, fuck it. If this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm talking about. I was that confident. I don't know why, but something resonated with me. For me, it was the forbidden fruit aspect of it. It was the movie that when I was a little kid, hanging out with my friends in the schoolyard, we'd talk about, oh, the fucking clown, he cuts, it was that. And we hadn't had something like that in a very long time now. Hatchet and those movies were close, as close as it was, but Hatchet is it's a horror comedy, it's about a swamp ghost. It prides itself on being ridiculous. And what made Terrifier is it was dirty, it was grimy, it felt like you needed a shower after watching it. And that's what resonated with me. So they put the movie out in 10 theaters for like one day. And of course it flopped, right? What's going to happen? And they threw it right on Netflix. But the good thing, what they did was they put it on Netflix with absolutely killer artwork. And people were just clicking on it out of just sheer curiosity. And then it started blowing up, and it was the fans. The fans were so loud about it. And all of a sudden, there were murals going up of Art the Clown in Berlin, Spain, in New York, all over the fucking place. And I was like, holy shit, this is it. And that was validating to me. And then I told Dread Central to fuck off because, hey, why not? If that's gonna be my swan song, I'm dropping the fucking mic on a high note, right?
You gotta.
And so I moved away from Dread Central, and it was scary, man. I mean, being Uncle Creepy, as ludicrous as that sounds, is the only thing I'm good at, right? And so Damien came to me with Terrifier 2, and he's like, we're making a sequel. And my instant reaction was, dude, I have to be involved. Not because it's the only fucking thing that I have, but because my story and its story are so intertwined, So I told him, listen, let me work on it. I'll work on it for free. Let me show you what I can make happen. And if we do get to do a third one, we'll talk about contracts and shit then. Right? And so I got to work, and I put on a fucking clinic in terms of promoting that movie. And then I started doing more and more and more. and I got them their merch deals, and eventually I got them their. I'm the one that closed the fucking deal between them and Bloody Disgusting Cineverse. That right there earns me the title of executive producer. That's what an executive producer does. If you go online and Google it, you know, you could see, and that's what I did. I busted my ass, bro. I went at it. I was at it 24 hours a day on social media. I was doing everything. I got them their first couple of really excuse me. What's the word I'm looking for? Lucrative.
Yeah.
I was like lubed. I got them their first lubing.
You got them lubed up.
Yeah. I got them their first lucrative merch deals, and I was very proud of that. And I set up the Kevin Smith screening. Me and my wife of all people we were online getting YouTube to take down the pirated clips. I started packing merch for them in my basement to help them with shipping because I wanted the fans to have their stuff as quickly as possible. I made sure that the fans who I knew were going to be the only ones to carry this movie, I made sure that they didn't just feel like they were on the ride with us. I had them in the fucking car with us.
Yeah.
And that's what was important to me. And I'm so proud of what I did with that.
And with studio features, we never have that. I never felt that way with like Elm Street, or they were studio pictures and we didn't have that access.
This was a different level of interaction with the fan base. One that only someone in my position with my experience could probably pull off. I bet on me and I bet on the fan base because I am a fan, and fucking everything just started happening, man. It was amazing. We never knew we were supposed to get like 2 days in a theater, and then it just started blowing up and people started showing up, and then everything just started falling into place. And what's funny about that is like at one point they reached out to me and so what do you think about editing the movie and putting it out as an R-rated movie in theaters and then putting out the unrated version at home? I'm like, well, if you do that, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Yep.
Because no one is going to go to the theater to watch a movie they could see uncut a few weeks later. And they're like, you sure about that? Even if it means leaving $1 million on the table, I go, I'm positive. And I was right. And, and then everything started clicking. And I saw Jerry O'Connell on some fucking morning show that he does. I don't even know the name of it. And he's like, whoever's doing the marketing on Terrifier is doing the most brilliant job I've ever seen. And I'm like, hi, it's me, it's Damien, and it's Bloody Disgusting. We had no marketing budget, that was all us internally. And it was just the ride of a lifetime. And I am so thankful and honored I got to take that ride. I'm very proud of what I did on both Terrifier and Terrifier 2. Listen, dollars to donuts, you can make the best movie in the world. If nobody hears about it, nobody sees it. What have you done?
Yeah.
I was in a really unique position to get that movie out there and to share it with the horror fans because I wanted them to see it. I get excited even thinking about these times and what was going on, I mean, it was magical. And I'm so thankful I took that ride. I truly am.
Listen, we just did the episode on Maniac, and I talk a lot about Joe Spinell. And Joe Spinell did a lot for the Italian American community in New York. Absolutely. He gave so many people like Danny Aiello their shots at like, hey, you can work in the film industry. You can be a part of this. Mm-hmm. And for me, as a New York guy, when I found out about Terrifier, I'm like, oh, these are fucking paisans. Like, I'm rooting for these guys. I'm rooting for this to win because for me, it's like, yeah, you're in the car with these guys and you're taking the ride and you're going to win with them. So it was with everything that's transpired, we talk about equity. Equity fucking matters. At the end of the day, it matters.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, this whole thing has been really heartbreaking because my father, I come from cinephiles. My dad didn't know what Terrifier was. He watches all these movies. He was so excited to go to Halloween Horror Nights. He wanted to meet Art the Clown. He even watched the first two movies. Not his cup of tea, but he's like, I enjoyed them. And this is a 76-year-old man. And I was like, Dad, I'm like, these guys did it. I'm like, they're from Staten Island. I'm like, they did it. And he says to me, he's like, what can't you do it then? I'm like, well, it's lightning in a bottle, but the reality of the situation is that we take this journey with the creators, and it's like, rooting for the hometown team.
Yeah.
And it becomes so important. And then I was excited. My friend Jay hadn't seen the movie. We recently went to the AMC. We saw the screening. And then I'm seeing the screening. I'm like, oh, this is great. I got my T-shirt. I'm like, I'm back to being a little fat kid with my Dr. Pepper. I'm all excited. And then fucking producer Pete sends me the article from Variety or Deadline. And I was just like, fuck, now I feel dirty. I feel, and that's me, because you know what? Maybe I'm a little too emotional. Maybe I'm a little too close to it because I was there from Jump Street. But as a fan, it's left a bad taste in my mouth.
I want to be very clear about something. I was let go via email on 3 days after my brother died, the week before Thanksgiving.
I'm so sorry.
And no, it is what it is. My brother died, and up until like a week prior to that, Damien was sending me test footage. What do you think of this lens? What do you think of that lens? And I'm giving him his feedback. And then they announced that they're going to do a re-release with a special clip,
Yep.
specifically for the end of the re-release, and it was going to have its own special poster. And being that I was so close with the fan base, being that I was constant, I made sure everyone got answered. The people who threw up and got sick, I tracked them down and got their addresses, and we sent them fucking thank yous. Okay. And I made sure that happened because, people are like, oh, that's brilliant marketing. We didn't even fucking think of that. It just started happening. So the fans, at least like maybe 10 of them in particular, wrote me on either Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And they're like, hey, is the poster going to be for sale eventually? And I'm like, I really don't know. I don't think so. And some of them are like, my dad's sick. I can't get to the theater, or it's not playing near me, or I just don't have the money or whatever. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I wish there was something to do, something I could do, So when the movie premiered, my wife and I got in our car and we drove around to several theaters that were playing it. And this is literally days after my brother died. And I walked into the theater. I asked for the manager. I explained who I was, and I asked them if they'd be so kind as to just give me 2 posters, and I wanted to send them to those fans that couldn't make it, that it was really important to. So they said, sure, can you take some pictures of me and the staff? And I'm like, of course, I'll sign anything you want. Let me just get 2 posters. And the only reason I asked for 2 posters, he's like, you could take more. I'm like, no, I want to make sure everyone that came to this theater gets their poster, So we went from one theater to the other, and I came back finally with about 10 posters. And I contacted every one of those fans, and I asked them for their address, and I mailed it to them. And I think a big part of the reason why I did that, number one, I always love the fans. I have no existence without them, and I am so cognizant of that. And but I was really reeling from the loss of my brother. And to make somebody happy, to give somebody else joy in that moment that they weren't expecting, gave me joy. And I needed that right then. And it's because of the fans that I got that. And they got their posters and they were just shocked. And they couldn't believe it. I paid for shipping. I made sure they wanted for nothing, And then like a week after that, I get the email that I have grossly misled the public into thinking I'm a producer on the movie. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And it was really insulting. The email top to bottom is absolutely one of the most abhorrent, insulting emails I've ever seen. And I
It's a
did,
betrayal. It's a
yeah,
betrayal.
you know what? But I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at any of them, even Phil. I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at me for falling for their whole loyalty and family song and dance. I fell for that. They didn't make me fall for it. I fell for it. And I should have known better. And I didn't. But I wanted to believe that these were the little guys and we were all going to be triumphant together. This was my project. This was the moment. This is what I worked my whole career for. And then all of a sudden, it was gone. And not even a phone call, nothing, right? After everything I did, nothing. And I wrote Damien, I'm like, dude, how could you guys do this to me? I fucking loved you. And he's like, hey, this is between you and Phil. And what Phil's main beef was more people were recognizing me as a producer than Phil. And Phil worked hard on these movies. And if I defy anyone to go back and watch any bit of promotion I did and point out a single interview where I said these movies do not exist without Phil Falcone. I
Yeah.
know it. I made sure I did it. I made sure every single fucking one of them got credit for everything that they did. And in the email made it seem like I was giving it a producer's credit as like a pity credit, Like I
Yeah.
didn't earn it. And I kept my mouth shut. I said, okay. I was destroyed, Jerry. I ain't gonna lie to
Right.
you.
I would be too.
I let it affect my health. I let it affect every single part of my life. Even recently, I go to the stores, I walk by Hot Topic or Spencer's, and I see these huge Terrifier displays, and I know I'm the reason it's there. At least a very big part of it, especially Hot Topic and stuff like that. And for a minute, I get proud of what I did. I'm like, I did that. And then the other part sinks in like, what did I do wrong? I'm a fucking failure. I should be doing better for my wife. I should be doing for my stepchildren. And then the depression sets back in. And then even on Halloween, I have little kids coming to the house dressed like Art the Clown, and my heart is both singing and breaking every moment of the day. And it was tough. But I kept my mouth shut. And the reason why I stayed quiet on my parents' graves, the only reason I stayed quiet through all the shit they did to me was because I didn't want the fans to look at these movies any differently. I still don't. It breaks my heart that you feel dirty or whatever. It truly breaks my heart because
It broke me. It broke me as a fan of the franchise. And this is not posturing. This is not. I'm a 47-year-old man. I've lived. I'm not a 19-year-old kid. And the reality of it is that all the promotion I see from Cinedime, all the promotion I see for the third movie for Bloody Disgusting, it's left a rotten taste in my mouth. And maybe that's me. Maybe because I'm too emotional. Maybe because I care too much. But something about it doesn't sit well with me.
I deeply apologize to you, man.
No, you don't owe me that.
I only ever wanted people to be happy and to really love this stuff as much as they did. And I was fine. Even when Terrifier 3 came out and it did gangbusters, and not to pat myself on the back, but after everything I did with 2, 3 could have been about Art the Clown taking his shit for 2 hours and it still would have made bank. And even when it blew up, I was the first one to publicly congratulate them and to say, hey, guys, good job. Proud of you. I knew it would work for you. And even though that hurt like a son of a bitch, it was part of keeping the illusion intact for the fans, because I know so many people write me and send me pictures of their kids dressed as Art the Clown or Art the Clown here and Art the Clown there. And all I could do is just reply, wow, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing this with me. And then my fucking heart's getting ripped out at the same time, you know? And listen, I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, poor me. I'm not like that. I don't care to be like that. But when Catherine came forward with her story, it hurt me. And it hurt me because I knew she was hurt. And I know how much she loved Damien and Phil and the whole crew and the films, and especially the fans. And I knew she was thinking exactly what was going to happen was going to happen. Like, people were like, oh, it blew up, so now she's looking for more money and she don't deserve it. And guys, you don't know the first thing about what you're talking about. She the Hollywood Reporter article was very poorly written. It did not state clearly the facts. It was very confusing because, in the journalism industry, everyone's trying to be first and beat everyone to the punch. So sometimes facts get misconstrued or misrepresented. But one thing I knew is that everybody was going to start saying shit about her like that. And Catherine's a good friend of mine. And I didn't want to see her go through that pain. So I contacted her. I said, listen, I don't know if this can help you, but I will come out and give you my support and tell people what happened to me, if only because it would add an extra layer of validity. Not that she needed it, but it added that extra layer of, I just wanted her to be believed.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I came out with what I came out. And it's been both validating and fucking heartbreaking, all at the same time. I mean, this is a wound I've been trying to just fucking seal so many times, and it just keeps popping open. But I'm to the point where I'm angry about it, just because, listen, guys, you've won the brass ring. You've won. Stop hurting people.
Yep.
Just fucking stop. The only thing you have to do to maintain your continued success is stop hurting people. That's all it is. And so here we are. I was watching your show, and I saw what you were talking about, and you said I was the only one that was talking about it and stepping up. And I appreciated that. And you extended your invite to me. And within minutes, I was like, I'm there. What do you want to talk about? And here we are, man. That's basically what happened. It's a fucked up story,
Well, listen, I see you as a kindred soul, and I'm not, like, it's very hard. Again, transparency, it's very hard. But as I see you as a creator, I see you as kind of an older sibling in this whole crazy business. And I'm always trying to learn from you guys. I'm always trying to learn, what it is to do right, because I'm at the point where I'm working on something myself. And I'm like, all right, I have to take all of this and make sure that I can contextualize it and keep my head on my shoulders. But for whatever reason, I don't know, because this whole Terrifier thing had a moment. Okay. We took my friend's kids. We saw the third movie, and it was the first time since I was a little kid that I got that Dream Warriors vibe. I got that Dokken vibe. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, this is a moment. I've got goosebumps. I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this. I understand this because I'm here with them. I'm here. And from everything that's come out and everything that's transpired, it just, I mean, let's be tangible. Let's be adults. Let's be business people. The emotional shit we can't make right. We can't. It's one of these things. It's like when a friend or a family member betrays you, it takes time. Time is, they say, heals all wounds. But to move forward in this, moment, what would you like to see, Steve? I mean, that's
all I want. I have nothing to gain. I have nothing to lose, certainly. The only thing I take, and I know it's kind of irrational, but it's me. I'm an irrational person sometimes. I know I made this into a juggernaut. I know I did. I know it was a good portion of the fucking sweat that I put in to make this blow up like it did.
I
And
know you did. I
I,
know that you did.
I bet on myself and I bet on the fans because that's the one thing I believe in more than anything. And the only thing I have to gain, the only thing I want to see happen is everyone they screwed to just, I want to see them make it right with them. I don't care about me. I want to see Catherine get what she deserves. I want to see anyone they fucked with get what they deserve. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. I have no case. I have, I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for anything. I just want the people they fucked to be made whole because I take a certain degree of responsibility for people getting hurt because who wouldn't have taken a job on a Terrifier sequel and not
Absolutely.
think it was their dream job, And I've had people come to me since this all went down from the first film, the second film, and the third film, which I had absolutely nothing to do with, and they're telling me all these fucking horror stories. And I'm just like, guys, I'm sorry, you know. I I I own anything that happens to me, I own it, good, bad, indifferent. Whatever happened, I know it's not my fault, but I am responsible for people having not good stuff happen to them, for lack of a better term. And I just want to see them make it right, dude. That's all I care about. I don't give a fuck. I'll move on. For me, it's another fucking shot in the face. And I've taken countless. And I'm still here and I ain't going nowhere because I'm a motherfucking cockroach. And I'll be here. I was here before them. I'll be here after them. And I do it because I'm selfish, because I want to see cool shit. And if I could help people make something cool so I can watch it and the fans can enjoy it, that's what I want to do. So you ask what I want, that's what I want. I just want the people they fucked with aside from me to get what they deserve. And
So
there is a laundry list of people who have come to me with shit that just fucking blows my mind. And it's like my heart breaks for them. And more so, the more stuff that's going to come out, the more I know the fans' hearts are going to break. And it makes me feel like crap, you know?
does it does it mean though that there is a possibility as an intellectual property, as a brand, it moving forward with some of these things, is it damaged goods?
I don't know. That's up for the fans. Listen, I mean, no matter how you slice it, average Joe fan,
They don't give a shit.
they just love the movies,
Yeah.
and that's what they should do, you know. So I don't know. I can't answer that question because I honestly don't know, but I do know that I hope it doesn't affect them. I hope it. I hope it pushes them to do better, to make things right, and to make another kick-ass movie. That's what I want. I don't care about anything else.
It's always been hard. When I was a kid, I saw Twilight Zone, the movie, on the drive-in. And of course, years later, I would find out about, the Vic Morrow and the John Landis segment.
Mm-hmm.
And it really upset me when I found that out. And it becomes one of these things, like even with some musical artists, there's people that I like, and then horrible things come out. But
Mm-hmm.
that's me. I'm an emotional person. I'm an intellectual, and I intellectualize it. And I say, can I enjoy this? Can I enjoy this art? And the thing is that for some of us, because of the way we're wired, we can't separate it.
I get it. Which is
So
why I stayed quiet for so long. Which is, I mean, it's been 2.5 years, dude. I even wrote a book and I handled the Terrifier chapter with grace and integrity. I just simply said what happened because it happened, and that's the truth, and I don't need to have a good memory. My story has never changed at
Yeah.
all, so I never have to worry about, well, did I say this? Should I say that? Should I have said that? Was this true? No, I just said what happened. And I am very proud of what I did with these movies. I did it for the fans, and I left my heart on the table for them, and I'm proud of that. I do it again. If I had to go back and reevaluate everything that I did, I would still do it exactly the same way, because I did what was necessary to get them where they are. I did everything I had to do. What they had with me, and there's no way to say this without sounding like a complete douchebag, was they had a 30-year tenured rock star supporting their indie album nonstop for 3 years.
Yep.
That's what they had with me. And the reason why they had that is, I look back at what I've done in my career, and I've done so much cool shit that I don't think for a second I don't know how lucky I am to have done the things that I've done. But I look back at it all, and the one thing I am most proud of, regardless of whatever happened, no matter meeting my idols, no matter working or befriending whomever, the one thing I am most proud of is I got to where I got to without lying to anyone and without screwing anybody. And not many people in this particular business can say that.
No,
And
honor and integrity aren't in everybody's vocabulary.
There's a lot of different ways to gauge success. Some people gauge it from a monetary standpoint. Some people gauge it from a materialistic standpoint. Me, if I could go to bed at night and know I did everything I could for my family, for myself, and from anyone who needed it, if I can go to bed and say to myself, is the answer to that question yes? If I could say yes, then I'm successful as a motherfucker. Absolutely. That's how I gauge success. So while they may be reaping the benefits, deservedly or undeservedly, sooner or later, man. I said it to the IndieWire person when I saw the promotion for Terrifier 3, and I see interviews with them. I know that a great deal of what they're saying is right out of my playbook, shit they heard me say. And you could say whatever you want. You could say every right thing in the world. You could wear somebody's clothes, but you can't be them if you don't have their heart. If you don't have the heart and integrity to back up every fucking single word, sooner or later it's going to come out. And here we are,
But I do believe in karma. I do believe in karma.
I don't wish them any ill will.
No.
I don't. I just want to see them make shit right for the people they fucked over. That's all I want.
Listen, right now, let's pivot. So let's start over at this moment with everything that's transpired. I'm a director. I've got a really good picture, and I show you the picture. What do you do different? You say this is I don't know what, I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to become this thing that's in the cultural zeitgeist, but it's a good picture and you think it's got legs. What would you do differently?
Get a contract. Get it in writing that I'm actually going to help and actually be compensated for the time I'm going to put in. That's the only thing I did wrong. I should have got it in writing, but again, I did not think under any imaginable circumstances I would have been treated the way they treated me. It was inconceivable to me. So shame on me, man. It's my fault. I did that. I own it. I worked without a contract. And it kills me because I know better. Fucking know better. I always tell people, get it in writing. Nothing is real until it's in your hand. And I just threw away all
George would have told you that.
Oh yeah, he definitely would have.
The shit he was through wars.
Mike Felsher is a good friend of mine. And he was a good friend of George too. And I finally got to sit down with him and talk about everything that happened. He said to me, you're having your Night of the Living Dead moment, but it'll come back around. It always will.
Yep.
Here I am. I mean, listen, I got other projects cooking. I got things I'm excited for. I was a part of that Terrifier group, no matter how much fucking revisionist history they're trying to make believe I wasn't. And I've seen them just ignore or take credit for shit that I know I did,
Well, you're going to go down in the history books. I mean, look, it's like even like Lad with Star Wars. There's always the guy who shepherded, maybe I'm not saying it right, shepherded the project. He shepherded, and you were the shepherd of this particular film.
I was there.
We can't dispute it. It's undisputed.
They dispute it.
They go fuck themselves.
I've never heard them come out and say it publicly, but backhandedly through comments. And it's not me reading into shit. I know who they are. I know how they are. I was their professional foothold in a world they never dreamed of, And that's because I've been doing this for 30 years. And I even said that to Phil in response to his email. And I said it to Damien. Of course, people know who I am and recognize me. I've been here for 30 years, dude. I've been on the front lines with the fans for 30 years. I'm a fucking Romero zombie, for Christ's sake. I worked on Never Sleep Again, the biggest horror documentary that's ever been made. Of course, people know who I am. Of course, they recognize me. Who are you? Phil at one point in a meme he posted alluded to me being a clout chaser. And I was like, what fucking clout did any of you have before me? I put you in those rooms. No one else. And I say shit like that, and I feel like an asshole because I feel like, oh, look at me. I don't want to come off that way. I just know what I did. And what's funny? Like I was talking to someone just a little while ago who I'm not going to say who they are, but they said to me, they've been working and looking into stuff, and it all comes down to you did this and you did that and you did that. I'm like, I know, because it's not like it's not common knowledge. Anyone who is even remotely have heard the word Terrifier, which is gibberish, I could guarantee you about 90% of them heard it with something to do with me, something I posted. If I didn't fight for that movie to get out there would have been no sequel. If I didn't get them their distro deal that I got for 2, there would have been no $1 million weekends and shit like that. That wouldn't have happened, and everybody is making money on this but me, and I don't care. What I care about is the people who should have been, who did sign contracts, who should have been taken care of, who were smarter than me, who got it in writing. I want to see them made right. I don't have a case. Yeah. I know I don't have a case because I have proof of every fucking thing that I did. I have a whole fucking stack of fucking emails. I have screenshots. I have everything you can imagine. Everything I claim, you better believe I have the receipt for. And it's just such a fucking weird situation. So what do I do now? The one thing I missed from doing Dread Central all these years is I missed having the opportunity to work with the indie directors. I genuinely missed that.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was I started consulting on projects for people. And I didn't know what the fuck to do, how to do that,
Yeah.
So I looked online.
But you were doing it all along.
I was doing it all along. And I looked online just on a whim to see what people were charging for such a thing, to see if it was even feasible. Do people even charge for that? I didn't know. And I'm looking and I'm seeing fucking 10 grand an hour and this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I said, okay, listen, I know how much money it costs to make an indie movie. I know that's unattainable for the average person. So I said, okay, I'll do the same thing and I'll do it for 90% different, 90% less than what these people are ludicrously charging. People who don't have anywhere near the experience, especially in the horror genre.
Oh, yeah.
And so I undercut them by like literally 90%. And I've been working with younger filmmakers. I hate charging anybody for my time because it makes me feel dirty. But dude, I'm still living check to check.
Yeah.
I got a family. I have animals. I have to make sure everyone eats. And I do have a reputable skill set. So I charge people the absolute bare minimum and I give them everything that I can. And a lot of the people I've worked with so far have been really happy with the advice I've given them, with the changes that I suggested to on their scripts. And it's been fulfilling for me because I got to fill that void a little bit of not being in touch with the indie filmmaker. So I've been enjoying that. And I'm just, I was mentored by George Romero and Sid fucking Haig. That's like having Bigfoot think you're cool enough to know he really exists, right? And I wouldn't be anywhere near as successful if it wasn't for both of them. I listened to them so much and they imparted so much wisdom in me. And the most important thing they taught me was how to treat people. And more importantly than that, how to expect to be treated, And I take that seriously. And I want to be able to pass down to other filmmakers what they pass down to me because they're no longer here and they don't have that opportunity. So I feel like I owe it to them to share what they taught me. So that's what I've been doing, and that and just writing my own projects and working with other people. It's been a grind. And, one day I will have my moment. I know it. I've been at the Karma bus stop for 30 years, man. It's got to come sooner or later, right? And if I know what'll happen, if I leave the bus stop now, that motherfucker's going to pull right in. So I have to stay here. I have to be true to myself and be who I am because it's all I know. It's this or I flip burgers. I don't know anything else, So,
but that's it. It's happening now. I mean, like, whether you want to see it or not, I'm under your learning tree. I always have been, because there was even a point where I was like, man, fuck Uncle Creepy. How's he doing this? And I did it. Listen, I'm man enough to admit that I might have said your name under my breath. And I was this fucking guy. How's he doing this? But you know what? Listen, there's going to be a time, and I really hope that I get to cash in on this. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say to you, Mr. Barton, what do I do? And that time is coming. I promise you.
I'm right here. You know how to get in touch with me. I'm not hard to find, man. My email's on my fucking Facebook page. It's right there. Because
I think that's the best thing that can happen here. I think the best thing that can happen is that you are able to empower and amplify other artists' voices and maybe let them sit under the learning tree and empower them to do the right thing.
That's what I'm trying to do, man. That's what I did for Damien, Before fucking me, he was delivering flowers. I used to talk to him about Terrifier 2 while he was on his fucking delivering flowers to people, That's what he did. I'm sorry to out you, but whatever, man. It's just the way we all had day jobs. When I was doing Dread Central, I fucking worked at GameStop. I worked at GameStop for 7 years. And the reason I worked at GameStop is because the money that Dread Central was making, me and the other principals of the company decided that it would be smarter to not take the money for ourselves and pay our writers, So I didn't make any money from Dread Central for about 7 to 8 years. My day was the same thing every day. It was wake up at 4 a.m., update the website for the people on the West Coast, update the site for the people on the East Coast, go to work at 8:30, come home at 3 o'clock, work on the site for the afternoon, work on the site until dinner time, eat dinner, watch TV for an hour, go back to the fucking computer, work until 1 a.m., sleep for 3 hours, wash, rinse, repeat. I did that for 7 years without making hardly anything. Fucking slinging fucking video games because it's the only other thing I liked was video games, you know? So I figured I like video games. I could sell this shit. I know what I'm talking about at least. And I put in that time, man. And there is nothing turnkey. A lot of people expect when you get into the business that you're gonna put a key in a door and everything's gonna open up. No, this is the business of rejection. You're gonna get told no 1,000,000 times, 2,000,000 times. But if you want it and you keep at it one time, all it takes is that one time to get a yes, and everything becomes worth it and everything changes. But you got to be patient and you got to put in the time. People say to me, well, if this doesn't work, my plan B is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you have a plan B? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, then you aren't doing this.
Yep.
There is no
plan B.
You're either going to do it or you're not. And if you're thinking about plan B, you're already expecting to fail. So that's a tough. It cost me my relationship, dude. I was with the same girl for 20 years. She wanted me to have a more secure career, and this career is feast or famine. That's all it is. And I couldn't give that to her, and she wasn't wrong for that. She honestly wasn't wrong, and I knew I couldn't do that. So I knew it couldn't be with her, even though we were together for 20 years. People grow apart. And she would say to me, when do you think this is finally going to work? And I'm like, I don't have an answer. All I could say is, this is who I am. I can't be anyone else, And now I married a cheerleader. It took me 50 fucking years to bag one, but I got it, right? And she understands me and she supports me. And I'm so thankful for her. And
I'm going to make sure the cat's listening to this. You hear that?
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's at the end of the day, it's all good. I really want to apologize to the fans for all the shit that they're reading, even though I know I don't have to. I only ever wanted to bring you cats joy, and I hate that you have to be exposed to the underbelly of this situation.
But you did succeed. You did bring them joy.
Yeah, but now, like you said yourself, it's tainted somehow, and I hate that. And I never wanted that. And that's why I stood quiet for so long. But when people I care about come out that they're getting hurt, I can't sit idly by and let that happen. I have to try to help. And that's the whole reason why we're here, Yeah, I'll talk about it. I have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. I can only tell people my experience and tell them what I believe is the absolute truth. And it's up to you guys to decide what to do with that, but sometimes people just aren't who they think they are,
Listen, even this interview is going to come out, and it was not intended to be malicious. It's not intended to be salacious. We talked about it. And that's, look, what is what is. But there's two things in this world, and this is something that I've really, really been resonating with me the last few months. There's two things. Is in an age of social media and fake bullshit, there's two things you can't fake. The first one is passion, and the second one is work ethic. And Steve, no one can take that away from you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I worked for it.
You did.
I continue to work for it. And I hope that there's more joy to come from everybody, because I have some pretty exciting things in the works. And if you really want to know what happened to the best of my ability or how I got here, it's all in my book, man. There are tons of stories about adversity, and there are tons of stories about George Romero and Sid and working in the industry. So if people are curious about that, I'm happy that book is out there, and I hope they find it, especially if they find themselves in need of some sort of help. And help usually comes from unlikely places, and I'm pretty fucking unlikely. I got to be honest with you. So there we go, man. I really want to thank you for the time and the forum you've given me to talk about this.
Yeah.
Um, I hope to God it puts things into perspective for people, and they really can understand where I'm coming from. And where I'm coming from is a place where I never wanted them to see the bad, only the good, because there's so fucking much bad in this world that the few good things we have need to be celebrated. And I always want the Terrifier franchise to be celebrated because it's brought people joy. I know people who've met and got married as a result of these movies. I think that's beautiful. I think that's amazing. And I am so proud to have been a part of that. Again, I hold no ill will toward any of them. I'm mad at me, if anything. But
No,
I think that sometimes when you keep doing shit that you probably shouldn't do, it's cause and effect, man. Every decision that somebody makes is going to have an effect. It's the ripple effect, dude. It just happens. And I only ever try to put good stuff out there. I don't get political. I only post funny fucking animal videos or people falling down on my social media because I feel like everybody needs that laugh, or I recommend movies or whatever.
that's why we do this. It's
it,
escapism
yeah, and we need it now. We need it more than
more
ever.
than ever.
We're living in a world where everybody wants to see us apart, and it doesn't have to be that way because it shouldn't be. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, if you're an immigrant, if you're a resident, if you're homegrown, if you're Native American, if you're a fucking alien from outer space. There's only two kinds of people in this world. You're either an asshole or you're not, you know? And it doesn't take I think it takes more effort to actually be an asshole than it does just to teach people or treat people with respect the way you should be treated. Treat everyone like you want to be treated. There's no difference between any of us. We're all just people. We're all on this fucking ride, and all we have is each other and ourselves, especially ourselves, man. Because there is no fucking backup plan, man. No help is coming.
Nope.
We are the backup plan. So we got to do what we got to do to make sure that we and the people we love have the best lives possible. And that's all I ever wanted.
Steve, I want to thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure, man.
Because I don't want to taint this interview. I don't want it to go on too long. And I'm very grateful that you were able to take some time out of your day and just talk to me because, even for me, I'm just a little guy.
You're not a little guy, dude. People like you are the most important because you're the ones lighting the fires to keep shit burning, dude. Everyone has an important role to play. There is no such thing as a little guy. That's what I was doing with Dread Central. Indie filmmaker, loud of a voice as a studio filmmaker. Everybody does their part. Everybody's important, and everyone should be recognized for what they bring to the table, and that includes you. I am honored to be talking to you. I am happy that we made this happen.
Yeah.
I am glad that you could put this out there and say, hey, here's this interview. Whatever you make of it is what you make of it, But at the end of the day, it's all about making people happy while we're having fun. And that's the best thing we can do. And it's people like you that make that possible. If you didn't take the time to do this, even if this show reaches one person, I'm glad I showed up for that one person,
Yeah.
Everyone is important. What you put in is what you get out. And I've always put everything in, and I treat everyone the same way. I don't have an ego. I don't give a fuck about ego. I give a fuck about being a decent human being. That's why everyone who writes me, I answer. I am nobody special. I am here. I'm in a good position and I'm happy. I can talk to people, or people want to hear from me, or when I go to a show, people bring shit for me to sign. It's incredibly humbling to me. And I'm very thankful for it. You guys have given me a career. You guys have given me everything that I have and everything that I will have. So it's my job to be there for everybody, no matter where I am, no matter who the person is. It's important to me to get it done. And that's why when you said, if you ever want to come on the show, I said, sure, let's do it. Not to tell my story, not to beat a drum, but because you are interested and I have to value your interest. I value everybody, and that's the way it should be.
Well, we will talk again, and hopefully next time I'm able to
Better subject?
better, yes, better circumstances, better subject. And I'm gonna say, Uncle Creepy, how do I get this fucking thing in Hot Topic? Because that
I got you. I totally got you. Don't worry. That I could do. That's no problem.
It's like Mel Brooks, the merchandise. It's all about the merchandise.
Yep, it really is. And more than that, it's about the people. And you know what? I think what they're suffering right now, and it happens, man. It really happens to everyone if you let it happen. I think what they're suffering through now is, and I feel for them, is that I think they lost their narrative. I think they forgot why they started doing this and what they were hoping to get out of it. Once you lose your narrative, you've lost. And I always keep my eye on the narrative. It's never about me. It's about what I love and who I love and what I do. I've given my whole life to these fucking horror movies, and I do it again in a heartbeat because I have fun. And being Uncle Creepy is, again, the only time I feel like I'm being alive.
And that's okay.
That's totally.
Thanks, Steve.
You got it, brother.
I'll talk to you soon, all right?
You got it, man.
Be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.